right. Welcome everyone to the first episode of Writing Prose. This is something brand new that we decided we were going to try out and see how it goes. But basically, I got sick of only ever seeing amazing artists and colorists and, line art and all of that. I wanted to talk to the people that make everything happen, because without writers, there's nothing for artists to draw. So I wanted to go through and introduce my panel. I've got Red Gaze.
Howdy, howdy.
Next to him is the amazing Narwhal.
Hello.
Down below, we've got Mr. John Gallagher. How you doing?
Yeah, Comics Gate.
And below me, we've got Adam.
Wait, I think I'm in the wrong place. This is Writing Prose. I thought we were talking writing comic books.
You're funny. Anyway, so this is to go over various kinds of writing. So whether it's somebody writing for a screenplay, writing poetry, novels like Gaze has, comics like most of you guys are actually writing, really just trying to get into some of the pitfalls, some of the issues that have come up with a lot of first-time writers, and how to, basically just make your books better, more interesting, more engaging. So this is called Introductions for the first episode. And really briefly, I just kind of want to go around and have all of you guys talk about how you got your start into writing specifically. So we'll start with Red.
Oh, goody. My start into writing probably would date back to my role-playing days, which aren't over, by the way, but I used to be much more intense. Once I started game mastering, I'd start developing my own worlds, my own people to fill these worlds with, settings, places, obviously plots. So that's really where I got my start. And it just kind of carried over because, as you game, you think, well, shit, a lot of these stories would make really good books or even comics or what have you. So yeah, I started dabbling with writing books, and I've been doing that for just sticking around for probably a good 10 years.
Nice.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that long. That's really cool.
Your voice is ageless too, so we don't know if you're like 20 or 50.
He's like 72. We just don't talk about it. That's why he's just an eyeball.
That's correct.
That's really cool. All right, Narwhal, how did you get started?
I got really into screenwriting like my senior year of high school. That carried all through my 20s. And then it kind of transitioned into comics. And there were some comics in there, but a lot of where I cut my teeth and learned a lot was from reading a bunch of the screenwriting books and then writing a bunch of crappy screenplays. And I think the first screenplay I wrote that felt like it was good was Earthbound. And I was like 27. So that was after about like 9 years of writing.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. That's really
Excellent.
good. This is so interesting. Like, I like hearing where everybody kind of started, because I'm trying to get back into it. So it's interesting to hear how long you guys have been doing this. All right, John.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much, ever since I can remember started writing stories. I would say, though, that the time that got me interested in comics was when I was in the military. Because I had an accident and I had nothing else to do but read comics all day long. And that's what really developed this passion for me. But yeah, I was kind of like a little homeschool at the beginning of my life, I guess, for the first few years. And my mom was really trying to get me to learn to read and write. And one of the things that she would make me do was write stories. And then she realized that I was kind of good at it and kept encouraging it as I kept growing up. So yeah, that's kind of how I started writing. But comics in general, I said, started after that accident, and how I always say, like, comics saved my life, because I was so depressed at the time that if I hadn't had those books, and if my friends didn't keep bringing me books, I probably would have lost my head, So yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Adam.
I like the way Narwhal unscrews the cap on his water bottle.
What about some ASMR drinking?
That's great.
I think that was more a-hole drinking.
Pretty slobbery.
What was the question?
How did you get your start in writing?
Okay, yeah. I guess it was about 12 years ago or so. It was when I really started getting back into comic books. I've read prose novels. I'm pretty much all my life. I read comic books as a kid too, but I started getting back into them around 2007 or so. I had a work friend who was really, really into it and has read comics all his life, and he started feeding me all of this stuff that I had missed over the years from the time that I had discovered girls. And he gave me a copy of Batman Hush, and I read that, and it inspired me that I was like, I can do this. I think I can do this, but I want to do this.
Right.
And I just started writing from there. I started coming up with my own concepts at first, and then he and I actually started writing this very intricate and epic like Batman fan fiction. And I did about 12 full scripts of about an 18-issue series that I think we had planned out. And I got about 12 issues in, and then I decided, I was like, I feel like I'm just kind of wasting away with writing this one thing. And I started getting back into actually fleshing out my own stories. And that's where I actually developed the idea for Arch City Comics and this whole world, this whole universe that has all these different characters and whatnot, and haven't really stopped. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of my I would say influences come from not just superheroes, but also horror and mystery. I'm a not to sound too cheesy, but a big Stephen King fan. I've read nearly every single one of his books. I like what he does with horror, but I like mystery a lot as well. A good whodunit, still that's the way to my heart. And hopefully I'll one day get to publish a good whodunit that will lead some more people into deciding that they want to be writers as well.
So going into the whodunit stuff, are you into like Humphrey Bogart and Poirot type?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if I have like an actual, if I could point my finger to like one or two specific stories that got me into like the whodunits, but pretty much any kind of like mystery, murder mystery Sherlock Holmes is big. That's why I think I got into Batman so easily, because he is essentially an analog for Sherlock Holmes, just in that in a superhero sense, which is why I think I was always drawn to him.
That's really cool. So to get a small bit into me, I wrote a lot in school. So like going in elementary and junior high school. I don't know if you guys remember the Reflections contest that they had, that nationwide thing that they did every year, and they'd have a theme. And there was a couple different categories that you could write into. And it was mixed media, all this different kinds of like ridiculous nonsense. But I ended up, every single year, I ended up putting something in for that. And I got published through that probably 2 or 3 times when I was younger. And then when I hit high school, I got published and invited out to like a writers convention for my state. And I went there. I, read a lot of other people's really good stuff. A lot of people really liked my stuff. And it was really cool. And then I started working and started needing to pay bills and stopped being as creative. So I just kind of fell away from it. And I finally hit a point where it's been a constant thing that has kind of wanted to bubble back up, and I just haven't ever sat down and done it. And I've never actually sat and written something that follows like one story that isn't a children's book from beginning to end. I normally end up doing like excerpts or doing poetry is mostly what I end up writing. So I'm attempting now. We'll see what the hell happens, but I've got like 50 ideas and I have written exactly 0 on all of them. So
I think writing becomes like a drug. Like once you start, it's really hard to actually stop yourself. Like I know Narwhal, you you're one of those kind of guys that you got ideas, all kinds of ideas bubbling under the surface. And John, especially, from what I've heard Carla say about you, you just pile the scripts on top of her. Like, I want you to draw this, draw this, draw this. It's hard to stop yourself once you like pull that cork out of the bottle. It just flows.
Yeah, she tends to exaggerate that though. It's not. But yeah, I do have a lot of projects lined up, and it's hard. You know, one thing I find kind of a solution to it, and it's kind of a lazy solution, but that's just me. Is I come up with so many different characters that in the end I'm just gonna do a team up with them. You know what I mean? Because if I just do a separate book for each and every one of them, will never end. You know what I mean? So we'll just do a team up with all the characters, kind of give them a little spotlight. Some of them would deserve their own stories, but you know, if it can be done, it can be done, and it would just take way too much time, man.
Well, that's why I developed the whole Arch City Comics idea. I mean, everything that I have planned revolves around the world of Arch City, where the whole premise is that everyone in this world, in Arch City, that becomes a hero, that gets powers of any kind, always ends up becoming a villain. And everything kind of stems from that idea. So you will see heroes in my book, but but the main struggle is that yes, now you have these amazing powers, but you're also automatically pulled to the dark side. So what are you going to do about that?
Nice. That sounds cool.
Yep.
Yeah. So Narwhal, what did you look like you had something to say about the whole feeling like writing is like a drug?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I was thinking it takes like a year or more for me to develop a writing idea fully once I have it. So I might have one good idea every 6 months, but that they still start to back up, even if it's not super common. Like when I have them, I keep notebooks and I'll write them down. And I got like maybe like 10 or so that I want to do. And then over the years, some have stuck and some have fallen off. I've been like, I don't know about that. And I'll kind of let it die or whatever. But some of them don't die. And they do kind of stack up. The other thing is I'm always on the lookout for a good idea for a comic short. I think those are really hard to think of and to like write, but they're really fun when you do get one just right, kind of.
Yeah. So how many pages would you consider a short for a comic?
I don't know. Like, I mean, even a one shot is kind of hard, like to wrap everything up in 20 pages or 22 pages or even 48 pages. But like if like 5 to 8 to 12 pages in there is like, that's what I consider like a short comic, basically.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think like in the indie world, I would say like 12 to 24 is your short story. And yeah, 48 would be your one shot. Like the first story that I'm working on, hopefully that will get done later this year, is a 48-page one shot sci-fi horror story that's actually set in the 1940s. And I'll agree, Narwhal, it's hard to get everything wrapped up into 48 pages and not feel like I'm shorting the reader in any kind of way. You know, I want them to feel fulfilled when they read it front to back. So it, in a lot of senses, is similar to trying to script like a movie out, you know, trying to fit everything into a 2-hour time frame. I'm trying to fit everything into 48 pages.
Yeah. You know, one thing I think about too a little bit is like the difference between, if you're talking like movies or TV, but like old TV, it used to be episodic, like Star Trek. So those episodes, they did all wrap up and they are like short stories almost. And those are really cool and fun to kind of study and look at. And then whereas like more modern TV, it'll all kind of tie together in one giant arc. And it's like, they're both good, but I at least right now I'm like interested in studying that episodic stuff.
See, so maybe that's where I differ. And I think it's because I've got a television production background. And so my mind works more in the one like full story that can be told in whatever like small parameter time frame that I have, like PSAs and stuff like that is something that I'm really used to doing. So you guys are talking about creating these worlds and having all of these characters and making sure that you've explored them fully. And for me, that is the most terrifying thing in the world, to have somebody sit down and be like, I think that you should do this. Cause I'm like, I don't know that I can, and I don't know that I can do it in a way that it's going to make sense, not come off hokey, that I'm going to remember like continuity and everything all the way through. And I think it might just be, I've had more of a background in film. And so for me, it's like small little one shots. That's where it is for me. I feel like I can do those. That's digestible.
Yeah.
But like the stuff that you do with Earthbound, you're like, oh, we're going to have Earthbound 2. And I'll be like, oh shit, I don't remember what I would have forgotten what I wrote in Earthbound 1. Like, I'd be like,
yeah. Well, in that particular case, it's maybe just a little different because it was one script that I just drew. I did the first half, and that was Earthbound 1, and I'm doing the second half, calling that Earthbound 2. But it's really just one story that I had written the whole way. So sometimes you might write, and you're like, I could write a sequel down the line, but you actually haven't written it yet. So it's just like it's in your head or whatever. But in that one, it was already written basically.
Well, not just that, but you say that. And I kind of thought that too going into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even like a full-length novel, like that was terrifying to me. Like I was making so many notes, like I'm not going to remember this, I'm not going to remember that. I got to make sure, I jot it down to remember. But by the time you've gone through, the first draft, the second draft, the third draft, you get to know everything and anything inside that universe. You get to know the characters very well. You get to know the settings. I mean, yet you retain it.
Yeah, it helps also if you develop a Bible. I don't know, like who's familiar with that term, like a literary Bible, where, like you said, Gaze, you write down all of the ideas, every point you want to hit on, every detail of every character, and compile it into this massive, jumbled omnibus, as it were. And then that is your study guide, essentially. And then you just actually go through and you work everything out and hit those story beats and insert the characters exactly where you want them. The Bible is the way to go, man. I mean, it's not just one notebook. It is multiple notebooks filled with just random ideas, and sometimes random pieces of paper that I had lying around when I had an idea. I'll just stick that into the notebook, and like that's part of it. It's part of the lore. Maybe I can sell those one day for thousands of dollars.
Right.
I doubt it, but maybe.
That's cool.
That is definitely true. But I found that I haven't had to go back to the fountain. I haven't had to go back to the Bible a whole lot because, going through certain drafts and coming back to it again. That's why I wrote it down, so I wouldn't remember coming back to it. But then I come back to it and it's still in there. So maybe, everybody's different, I'm sure. But I don't know. I've just found that I've discovered that I know a whole lot more about these characters inside and out than I thought I would going back to it.
It's amazing how much your mind can actually hold.
See,
But yeah, there is no right or wrong way of doing things. It's just like art in itself, just drawing or painting. There is no right or wrong way. You just find what works for you and roll with it.
Well, and making sure that you actually are following through. That's my biggest thing. Is I start a lot of stuff, and that's just in life. Like I start a ton of small projects. I start a lot of writing pieces. I start a lot of like creative endeavors, and then I either psych myself out or I get a little bit busy, and then it just disappears, and I leave it, and I'll come back to it. I actually wrote. I have this really cool. I've actually got it here, and it's a badass book, so I'm going to show it. I have this really, really cool journal, right? So I got this thing, and it's handmade, leather bound, like fucking beautiful. It's got the really cool class and everything. So I buy things like this all the time. I have probably 6 of these, and this one has maybe 10 pages that have anything in it. All the others are blank. Because I wrote one thing and I was like, damn, that could actually turn into a good story. And then instantly went, I'm terrified to write anything else because it's not going to hold up. And so I stopped writing. And I literally had 11 months between the first thing I wrote in here and the second thing I wrote in here. It was an 11-month gap.
Do you ever read stuff that you wrote a long time ago and then you'll be like, oh, you know what, I kind of like that, and then you can get back into it or
yeah, so that's what ended up happening with this, is because I initially I was trying to just journal. So everything that I write, I don't do like the standard comic superhero kind of storylines. Everything that I do is really emotionally charged for me. And if I can't get a really heavy hit of emotion behind it, I have a very hard time actually following it through. And so I'll write something that's really emotional and then completely forget that I wrote it and eventually go back to it, you know, a year later or something, read it again and be like, oh my gosh, I have so many ideas. And then I'll write something else that's super emotional. And then I leave it for another month or two before I'm like, okay, I really do need to like follow some of this through at some point and stop being terrified to write, because that's one of the biggest problems is you just get so nervous if you do one thing that you like that everything else you do after it you're going to hate, and then you're just going to be like, I suck, it was a fluke. And it's the dumbest thing, because it's the same thing that I yell at artists about. It's the same fucking shit I do.
So how did you tell
Well,
them?
I mean, that's you are your worst critic.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, you are your toughest critic.
Absolutely.
If you like it at any point, I think that you should at least show it to somebody else to get their point of view on it, because that's kind of what I found about myself. Like I was always very unsure about my writing. You know, I'd spend weeks writing something and then be like, God, this fucking sucks. But show it to somebody else, and if they can find the same level of enjoyment that you did originally, then I think you're onto something. Even just one person, I think you're onto something. If you can grab one single person, one that is your audience, one other person other than yourself, if they can relate and enjoy what you're doing, then you're onto something. Whether or not you think it sucks or not, there is something in there that is good.
And if you can't find one person, then you need to quit. I'm just kidding.
Like quit altogether, or just quit that one piece.
Yeah, quit everything and then call your parents, tell them you're sorry.
You're moving back into the basement.
Yeah.
Carla's got a White Cat Comics in the chat has a great question.
Yes. So she wants to know, how do you know what you wrote is at a professional level?
How do you know you?
Well, I think that kind of falls back to what Adam was talking about. You know, you really don't. Like, it can seem beautiful to you, or it can seem like a pile of shit, but until somebody else gets eyes on it, you're not going to know.
Yeah. I don't think that even if I got, like, let's say that I, you know, became like the next J.K. Rowling or some bullshit and had like these amazing books that were out there and all these, you know, people are buying them and reading them, I'd still be like, this isn't professional. These people are just silly. Like everyone in the world is just being nice.
Well, I mean, look at some of the literary greats of you know, not just this generation, but like ever. You know, you got guys like Faulkner, who always thought he was shit, but I mean, he is regarded as one of the greatest literary masterminds of all time.
Yeah, that is.
So get over yourself and just put yourself out there.
I know with that question too, is if you write two things, like if you write one good thing that is good and find some success once you get it out there, then it's a little easier too, because then you've done it once and you can kind of remember that watermark of what it felt like for your future work. But if it's your first time, then it is a little hard.
50 Shades of Grey was garbage, El Gargoyle.
I just like that El Gargoyle knows that. Because,
I couldn't make it through the first fucking page of that book.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolute garbage.
And that's something else that should give everyone hope. You know, you got total shit that gets published, so why not us?
That's very true.
I mean,
that's true. You look at a lot of bestsellers out there right now, and it is absolute garbage.
It really is. So Carla has another question. So what if you're worried the test reader doesn't want to hurt your feelings? I think that this is going all the way back to the exact same thing that happens with artists. So when you draw something, how do you know that something that you drew was at a professional level? Because it comes back to you showing it to people and people having a positive outlook. Hey, what's up, Vaughn?
Hey,
What's up?
What's
how
up,
you
Vaughn?
doing?
Oh, nice. Vaughn's here. Sweet. What's up, man?
What's up, buddy?
See, this is what I love about this. You just throw a link out there and see who pops up. Well, yeah. So what I was getting at is I think it's the same thing as it is with artists. Like when you draw something, you don't necessarily know that what you're drawing is going to be at that perfect professional level until you start hearing that feedback where people are saying, yeah, this is really, really good, instead of people saying it's a good start. Like eventually you're going to come across people that are going to be like, yeah, it's, you know, it's okay, it's not bad. And you're like,
Yeah, I think you got to read people's actual reaction.
Yeah.
You can tell if somebody's just trying to be nice or if somebody legit enjoys what you're doing.
And go out of your way to find someone critical. You know, we all know people who are critical all the time. So
people that
seek
are gonna
those
be
people out.
assholes.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing that I do. Like I've actually had a couple of you guys read some of my stuff, and I picked specific people to read it because I was like, all right, this is super emotional and difficult for me to share, but I'm going to share it, and I'm going to share it with somebody who easily tear me to shreds without a second thought.
So Shay's trying to say everyone she picked were assholes.
No, I'm saying everyone that I pick is
She did give it to me.
I did give it to Adam. I did let Adam read a little bit.
Well, the question is do you want the truth about your work, or do you just want someone to smooze you and not let you help you grow or learn at all? You know.
Yeah,
That's true too.
Which isn't really a question, because obviously you don't want somebody kissing your ass.
There you go.
I mean, I like a good ass kisser, but I'd rather be torn to shreds and tell me what's wrong with what I'm doing so I can learn from it and grow.
Exactly. Well, and I'm so I'm going to be honest, a lot of my poetry I've shared with a lot of people, like friends and stuff of mine, and all of them have been like, wow, this is really, really good. And I'm like, and then I go and find someone else because I'm like, I need to find someone.
See, okay, the true test is if you actually write something that you know is garbage and then give it to that same person and be like, what do you think? And they're like, oh my God, I love it.
This could be the next 50 Shades of Grey.
So make a dummy piece of work is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. I've thought about doing that in hiring an editor, like for my own work. Of like, well, how do I know if they're actually going to be a good editor? Well, I'll give them something that I know has a lot of like mistakes and like awful shit in it, and see if they catch it. And if they catch it, well, they might be a good editor. If not, then no, they're probably going to be a trash editor.
See, I always feel bad because people will send me like a preview copy of stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is a good start and a good premise. And I was like, you know that you have 37 typos, right? And they're like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, you didn't know? Oh, I could itemize them if you would like. There's a lot of shit on here that I think you might want to maybe handle before you go to print.
Oh yeah, I've got friends of mine who's I've gotten their book in like within Comicsgate, and they were like, "What'd you think?" I was like, "It was great." Do you want to know how many commas you missed?
Oh my gosh, commas are the worst. Everyone forgets commas.
I put too many. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like
I think
I'm
I
a
do
comma
too.
chameleon. Just comma.
Yeah, I send my book to get edited, and they come back and they're like, it's like they add 200 commas, and I'm like, I don't know if I like all these commas, man. I like it better without the commas.
No, I'm getting rid of some of these. Damn it.
Yeah.
Well, I think with human language, there isn't really a comma. So like screw, having to get the sentence right grammatically and just let people talk like Narwhal style. You don't need commas,
Yeah. And
Scroll.
One I kind of forced myself to try and not pause at commas then basically. So it's like they'll want a comma there and it's supposed to be there grammatically, but when you say it, you're not supposed to pause. You're supposed to say it fast, So then you'd be like, well, maybe I'll delete the comma. But then I'm like, all right, maybe I'll leave the comma and just promise myself that I'll read it really fast without pausing.
Well, no, the problem could be if you don't have a comma in the right place, it could mess up the context of your sentence, right?
Oh, sure.
It could make people go, what is he going to do to that poor old lady?
Yeah.
But so that's when you got to use them.
Yeah.
So Vaughn, I want you to go. We already did this around the room. I want you to go ahead and kind of give us your intro on how you got into writing.
Okay. I was a little kid, and instead of doing my studies and my schooling, I was writing short stories and winning awards. And so I've always been good at it. I've always loved it. but I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a comic book artist for a while. So I drew a lot of stuff, drew a few books, and it just wasn't doing it for me. And I wanted to learn how to, I thought if I could learn good story and drawing, I could be even better, you know? So I got into screenwriting in around 2003, something like that. And I ended up going to film school in 2007 and learning the craft, as it were. And the more I learn about it, the more I love it. There's something about writing that's magical to me. And you have these breakthrough moments that are like dopamine hits that you get addicted to. And instead of going out with your friends, you're inside chasing the dragon of having breakthroughs with stories and characters and finding those perfect lines that give you a rush, you know? So yeah, in a way, writing for me became a drug.
Can I just say how happy I am that you just said the exact same thing that we all said before you got here.
That's how you know you're in a room full of real deal writers. Yeah, definitely. So
Adam had said.
we're all chasing the dragon here, and that's cool to hear that other writers feel the same way about it. That's cool. It's kind of it's encouraging because, you know, sometimes as a writer you wonder what the hell you're doing. And
Right.
other times you're like, I got this. This is going to be the best thing ever. So, yeah, it's been, I have all these stories and visions of things, and I want to bring them to the world. And the best vehicle for that is writing.
I mean, that is really true. So, question for all of you then. How many of you guys are writing based on like stories that you wish existed when you were growing up versus like emotional personal experiences that you warp?
I'll go first. I know for me it's like straight up just John Carpenter pretty much, and it is like I just want more stuff like that. So it's not really that much ego for my own personal experience, although I wonder about that though. Like I wouldn't mind trying to get personal like that more, but some of it happens accidentally. It kind of leaks in just accidentally. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's pretty much just stories that I would like to tell, you know, stories that I think need to be told. And, you know, through those stories, sometimes, you know, a bit of yourself might leak through. But for the most part, yeah, it's just presentations that I think need to be made, that the world's missing and needs.
Yeah, my stories start in fantasy, not in myself. I don't go, oh, this happened to me, and I'm going to write about it. You know, it's I want to write what I want to write about. It ends up being totally fantastic, great characters, whatever. And then when it's over, I look back and I go, oh my God, that's what I was going through at the time. I just didn't realize it. You know, I think that happens to a lot of writers. I wrote this whole story about a guy who gave it all to the girl he loved, and she became the Queen of England, and like threw him off, cast him aside, and then stabbed him and tried, you know, kill him and move on. And I was just like, that was my breakup that I was going through when I wrote that.
Damn, you got stabbed?
He could have been a king.
By the Queen of England. So, well, it was this girl who like thought of herself. She was very arrogant, and she thought of herself as this model and like really, you know, amazing and everything. And I thought she was great and all for a while there, but then the breakup, you know, and I started to see that ugly side. And it just came out by accident. I was just telling what I thought was a cool Victorian era story, you know.
that can be too, like if you have like 10 stories you could maybe pick for your next project, you end up picking the one that interests you the most in the moment of your life at that point. And the reasons for that are often like, you know, behind the scenes, autobiographical or whatever.
So you know what makes that really cool is it's almost like every time you have a new piece that you're writing, it's almost like it's a stamp of what you're going through at that point in your life. And so if you go and start looking back through all your works, you could be like, oh yeah, I remember that I wrote this. That was when this person broke up with me, and I wrote this, and that was when I lost somebody really close to me. And you just kind of go through all of that. It's almost like a little trip down memory lane that nobody else knows that they're taking with you.
Yeah. It's like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Like Lucas was going through a nasty divorce when he made that. So people are ripping out hearts and screaming. And
you could tell if you look at the 3 Indiana Jones movies, that's the darkest, most divorced kind of one. Most divorced,
divorce one.
Yeah.
The worst one. Oh my gosh. No, I really, I'm already in love with this. This is happening every Sunday. I don't care anymore. It could be me and like one other person. We're doing this every Sunday because this is really entertaining kind of stuff, and I like hearing everybody else's process because I'll tell you what got me back into writing this last little bit. I was sitting around and I was talking with people like you guys, and I was seeing Monster MDs coming out. I'm hearing just nonstop about Earthbound that I missed out on the first time. I know
You what?
I know. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. You can ask Narwhal. How many times have I messaged you and been like, book one's going to be in book two's campaign, right? Book one's in book two's campaign, right?
Three or four times.
Just a couple. I'm just verifying.
She's just making sure, you know.
I missed it the first time, so I have to back both of them now because I have to make sure I get it. But talking with Red Gaze, my dog is such a dick. Come on, dog. Come on.
Is it a little dog?
No, it's a fucking huge dog.
She's like 60 pounds. She's just an asshole. But no, like, so talking with Red Gaze, and he's got, successfully funding a novel within the same CG community. And I was like, wait, that's a possibility? Like, we could actually do that?
Right.
And then I'm talking to Adam, and I was like, oh, I'm editing like 30 different fucking comics. And I'm like, you edit? Like, what is happening? And I finally just started, okay, hold up. I'm just going to here's a little tiny piece of me. I'm just going to give to like 2 people. And then it comes back and they're like, dude, that's really raw. That's really emotionally charged. And I was like, good. That's what it's supposed to be. So I was like, fuck, I guess I'm going to write now. Like everyone else is doing it. I'm going to try.
You should, man. You should. Everybody should. And you've got awesome CGers around you to help. We've got dream teams within us to help make things work. So get on it.
This is the prime time to put yourself out there and try new things. I mean, like you said, Gaze funded a fucking novel. Like, who knew that people in CG would actually want to read a book that didn't have pictures in it?
It's not.
Well, I did throw in some pictures.
Congrats.
You did, but
yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's the thing is, in full disclosure, the fact that Gaze put out his novel is the reason that I've said, you know what, maybe I can put out a collection of like poetry and short stories and see where that goes. Like I'm gonna try a horror anthology, and we're gonna see if I can get people interested in that and get a couple of cool artists to. And this is another thing, and this is probably like partially ego and. Fuck it, I don't care if you don't know that I have an ego by now. I don't know what to do with you.
Bring it.
But before you do that, Shay, I just want to say thank you. If I can inspire one person, that's fucking awesome.
That is actually pretty fucking cool.
You absolutely did. So everyone who was on this panel, all of you guys have inspired me at some point in time in some kind of way. And some of it's been just getting me back into appreciating comics and writing again. Some of it has been understanding that there's people that I never even knew who write, who are very capable, very good writers. And then some of it has been you guys just taking these leaps and actually doing it. And all of that has been really, really motivating for me. And I've decided, fuck it, I'm just going to try. But just seeing what your piece does to somebody is one of those, like you were saying, it's a drug. So one of the ideas that I have for my anthology is I want to take these specific stories and poems and I want to hand them off to certain artists of whose styles that I like. I want them to read them and I want them to tell me what that inspires in their head. Like, what did they think of? And then that's what I want them to draw for me to kind of insert throughout this book.
Interesting.
Part of it is to try and see if I'm hitting the mark. In what it is that what I picture and what I kind of see, but also because I get a real big adrenaline rush in seeing how stuff that I've created hits other people. Whether it's
that's the ultimate payoff. Not to cut you off, but that is the ultimate payoff. As any kind of creator is seeing the reaction from other people. That excitement from them or the reaction, whatever reaction you were going for, if you want to terrify somebody or make people laugh or whatever it is, getting to see that that is the big payoff. You know, that's what we're all going for. So
right, exactly. And I think that that, like, for me, that would be one of the ultimate ways to know where I've hit with certain people, is to be like, here's a poem, read it, what did you think of, draw it. And they'd be like, that's what's going in the book. It just,
that could come out really cool or interesting, but it could also come out pretty like wonky and kind of jagged. So be careful.
Oh,
like,
no, 1000%.
do not be afraid to be like, I have a vision for this book and you're gonna help me make it too.
Oh,
and like,
I've got a couple
steer the
pieces
ship.
that are very specific.
Very cool.
yeah, a lot of times as writers, we are the directors, you know, if you want to look at it in that sense. You know, don't be afraid to be like, no, this is not what I want this to look like. It needs to look like this, damn it, or you're fired.
Right.
I've had some trouble with that.
Diva.
Yeah, because I usually write and draw my own stuff. So then I've had a few attempts to work with other artists on stuff that I wrote, and I'm trying different approaches. I think I finally found one that kind of works. Is I just do it the way all writers do it, where you have to put a ton of description in, and then they'll kind of get pretty close to what you want, and you see it. Because usually I just hand them the script, and I was like, you find out they can't read your mind, you know, and so then you're like, oh,
yeah. That's that's why I draw all my character designs for all my projects. It's like one of my rules, you know. Then I hand you the character design and say, make this cooler, or if you can, you know. But and people like Grant Morrison, he draws entire page layouts. So it's like, as the artist, you're getting your layout handed to you also. It's interesting.
Yeah.
He's taking no chances.
Oh shit, we got Tug in the chat.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Tug.
What's up, Doug?
To answer Lola's question there, yeah, my next project is going to be One Shade of Internet Gay.
A romance novel.
I'll still back it. I'll buy it.
I mean, I would back it because I like your cousin gays, but we might have some sidebar conversations after, like, what is wrong with you and who has hurt you and why?
Oh, that would be a long ass conversation.
What, right? Oh, see, that's where I get all of my inspiration. It's like, oh, you want to know who's hurt me? Hold on, there's like 30 novels worth. Let me just go ahead. Okay, so one thing that I did want to do, and this is kind of how I envision this show going from now on, is we're going to have a loose theme that we will kind of touch on throughout. And so this one is introductions, and I let some of you guys know before we went live. What I mean by that is, how do you guys go about introducing like new characters or new concepts into your stories and into your worlds without it feeling like shoehorned in, or without it feeling really unnatural?
I just make them naked the first time you see them.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
That everyone's focused on boobs and ass.
It's a meta rule. I try to make every character intro naked. I've only gotten one so far.
Naked Samurai.
The Naked Samurai is brilliant.
I love that book.
Oh my gosh.
Shoot for the stars, Narwhal. I will buy your books. I will buy them all. You crazy. And how are you not a nudist at this point is my question. But
it's a good question.
I'm a nudist beneath all these clothes. But yeah.
I think one of my keys is using archetypes in a way that gels well with your other characters that are in the book. And so you use them in a clever way so that all these characters can interact in a charming, kind of funny, but kind of serious way when you need to. So it's picking the archetypes that work, you know. And I, as a rule of thumb, it's going to sound silly, but it's the truth. Like, for instance, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles worked so well. Why? Where they were the four muses. And a lot of TV shows, if you look out there, use the four muse method of the fiery, hot-headed one, or whatever, passionate one, the more like a pragmatic leader, the brains, and then like the wild party animal, you know. And they work together well, I guess. So I'm not saying that's how I write all my stuff, but I go back to that and look and go, could I use one of those archetypes to shoe someone in a fun way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
it's hard to top what he just said there, honestly.
Yeah, your intro would just communicate that somehow. It'd communicate that that character. You know, there's a movie called Sister Street Fighter, and it has like 40 or 50 characters in it, and it's too many to give like actual story introductions. So they just jump on camera from out of frame, get a freeze frame, and it tells you their name, and then they keep fighting, and then they die or whatever. But you could just do that.
Just throw them in there.
That's not bad. Yeah, take the actual shoehorn and literally ram it down people's throat. You know, because I mean, think about that in comic books. They do that actually quite often, where a character shows up and you get that panel where it's their name in bold, and then a short brief analysis of who that character is, and then boom, right back into whatever's going on.
Yeah, that could work. It's good if there's a visual element to it, whatever it is. You give them the money shot to start their stuff, whatever.
I think it works. You could do it fast in fights. Just introduce them quick, fight, it's over. It's not bad. It does work really well in comics. One trick I've been trying to use for one of my latest scripts is giving people the one-page backstory. Because in comics, you can do just 4 panels, but every panel is like a different point in their life that's big, and you tell a lot with a little,
Yeah.
That's pretty good too, yeah.
I'm just experimenting,
John, what do you think? John's been quiet.
John has been quiet.
Yeah, I've seen that done in manga a lot. That was one of the things we did in our first book too, was just kind of have a little introduction of the character, the name, and what he or she represented. That's for like the characters that were kind of shoehorned, like you guys mentioned before, but of course main characters will get their own introduction. I think one thing that is really tricky is not falling into that whole problem with oversaying someone's name in a conversation in a way that doesn't sound natural. You know what I mean? Like you have this character, nobody knows what it's called, so you have this other character calling them by name over and over and over and over again, right? I think one way I get around that problem is having a group setting so that it feels natural to be saying people's names. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good point.
That's actually a really good way to do that, because that's something that I've noticed as I try to write stuff, because I write the way that I talk, and I write the way that my conversations actually go, which is really easy when I'm trying to do something way over the top, because I'm a lot to take, and so I'm usually way over the top and awkward for people that are not like me. But I have noticed that that's a big problem if you're trying to give somebody a name.
Yeah.
And it's an important aspect that their name is known. Like I've done stories in the past where it's like, yeah, you don't really need to know their name. It's not a big deal. But if you need their name to be known, that's a hard thing to work in there without it feeling like, hi, I am Elena.
3 times. You get their name into the conversation 3 times, and most people will automatically inject that into their memory. It's the same way as if you're actually meeting a new person in person. You know, if you can say their name 3 times, you will remember their name. So if when you're writing, you can get in the dialogue their name at least 3 times, then that more than likely the reader is going to remember who that is.
That's interesting. I hadn't considered that. I hadn't considered like what you use in real life to try and remember things to be something that you put into writing.
Yeah, and I think a good character, especially like the main hero of the story, definitely deserves a good entrance, right? It's especially one that kind of represents what the character is. Like for our first book, me and Carla, and it's important to work with the artists on that. It's like we wanted to keep I don't want to say the identity, but like the visuals of the main character shrouded in mystery, so that people would know what it really actually looked like. And even in the cover of the book, you couldn't tell. So you kind of see the shadow with a hat or whatever, glowy eyes, but you don't actually see what he looks like until like in the middle of the book. And so that kind of gets people to notice it, right? And want to find out more about the character.
Well, you went with that great, like, mysterious cover on issue 1 because you just had the half of the skull with the black background, which I love the simplistic style of that cover. It's amazing. But yeah, you didn't give you didn't give a fucking inch away, like on that cover, as to what was going on the inside of that story. And I think that was some of the biggest appeal of that book, really.
Yeah, and in the campaign too, I guess we tried to. It was a risky move for sure, and it showed in the fact that we didn't make that much money, but we didn't want to give too much away, and we wanna keep it like that for future campaigns, and you know, and whatever, you know, there's, like you guys were talking earlier about you know, there are things that are objectively good and objectively bad, but there's always going to be an audience for everything, right? I mean, if you just stood in front of a camera and went like this, I'm sure some people will consider it art. You know what I mean? So whoever likes the book. You know? So.
Going on a slight tangent on bullshit that is considered art. Thank you, dog. You're an asshole. Go away. Anyway, I remember going to a museum when I was like 12 or so with my parents, and there was this little white platform, and it had a little red chair, and it had red rope all the way around it, and that was it. That was the entirety of it. And I turned to my mom, and I was like, "What the crap is that?" And she goes, "Apparently it's an art installation and we are not allowed to touch it." And I was like, "It's a chair, Mom." And she goes, "Somebody considered it to be art." And I was like, "That's crap." And I like walked away.
That's how I look at most mainstream comic books, actually.
I mean,
that's art. That's crap.
Yeah.
Lately, yes, specifically. Like I wish that wasn't the case, but so many of them they've lost me. And it sucks because I just found them again.
Yeah.
It's like find them and then just poof.
Well, and to actually kind of circle back on something we said earlier. Well, I think Vaughn was the one who said it about, you know, injecting real life into your writing. They do the way that most mainstream, at least comic book writers, maybe not so much prose writers, but at least comic book writers do it, is it's way too on the nose. You know, there's no metaphor to be found in it. It's just, boom, you can tell exactly what happened to this person. You know, there's no layers to it. And I think that's something that at least we in CG in the indie scene have done a lot better job of doing, is getting that metaphor back in there and that little bit of mystery, so people, it's not so obvious, you know. Don't smack people in the face with it. Let people find it underneath the layers.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's really easy to just write on the nose for your first draft, but after that, you need to go in and give it a heart and soul and make the character lie. That's one trick to beating the on the nose thing that can happen to all of us. I'm actually editing a script right now, and I'm like, dude, there's way too much on the nose, you know, is have them tell little fibs, you know, about
that's good.
They
say one thing and you know they're feeling a totally different thing, you know.
I think we have passion for what we do, and they just have a job to do. That's a big difference. You know, they get paid to write a script, and we actually want people to get our books, and we show them the quality of the things that we're putting out.
That's a great point, John.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vaughn, dude, make your characters lie. Dude, that is an amazing point, especially in writing. Make your characters lie, so you don't know exactly what they're feeling, what they're thinking. Throw the audience a curveball.
Yeah,
but I will say, do not get into that. What a twist! Kind of bullshit, like no.
Oh, like M. Night Shyamalan. Twist.
M. Night Shyamalan ding dong.
That's the whole other extreme where you got to reach for a twist. And if you have to reach for it, don't do it.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be something that kind of just fits naturally within what you're telling, and it's something you're like, oh, I can absolutely put this in there, or this was the point of the entire story from the get-go, was to have this happen.
It's kind of like Michael Bay with special effects, like kaboom explosion. Like that's not a story, but kaboom explosion.
I think that Shyamalan did good in some of the movies, though. Like The Sixth Sense was definitely something. I mean, at least when I watched it, I was young, so I didn't see.
He was good early on. I think he got too reliant on the whole plot twist bullshit and trying to throw curveballs at people that like by the time we got The Village, Cool.
Oh god.
Lord.
I have never been more pissed than when I saw that show, simply because you cannot convince me that you have an entire village full of fucking teenagers and none of them ever ran through that fucking forest. I don't buy that for 2 seconds. There's not a chance in hell. And everyone's like, yeah, but there was the monster. I was like, fuck the monster. You got someone that's going to be ballsy and be like, man, that shit ain't getting me. And they will run. And even
That
if
ain't
the monster
real.
shows up, they'll run the other way, not towards the village. They'll run away.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, people have been really successful by focusing on one core thing that's not very good for storytelling. It's so weird. M. Night Shyamalan became Mr. Twist. Michael Bay became Mr. CG Explosion. And J.J. Abrams became Mr. I'm going to give you mysteries and not fulfill them and not give you any answers. Ha, ha, ha. Like, and everybody just kind of went along with it. And I'm just sitting here going, man, that is no way to write. That is no, like, the whole twist thing is cool, but most stories shouldn't all hinge on just a twist.
No.
They should be ups and downs and then like little turnarounds, that keep it interesting. But he totally overplayed his hand on that, I guess.
Yeah, your audience shouldn't like rely on that. Like, okay, it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Like, where's the twist gonna be at? Like,
yeah.
No,
it goes back to the subverting expectations argument. If that's all you're trying to do, just fuck off with it.
Yeah, 100% agree.
We missed a question in the chat from Frankie. He asked, "What's your favorite color?"
I was actually going to get to it, but we were talking about some cool stuff. So, what is everyone's favorite color?
Black.
That's men don't answer that question. Real men don't
Wait,
answer.
who said black?
And he says
I'm
that
real.
right after Vaughn answered it.
Vaughn said black.
Black is the most manly answer, though. Too.
That was my answer before any of you opened your damn mouth.
Oh.
Early enough.
My favorite color is narwhal.
Vaughn is dressed in all black, so you can't top that. He wins.
Yeah, I mean, I got black on underneath. I was trying to.
Oh snap!
So you're black on the inside, is what you're saying.
I am. As one of my best
We're all
girlfriends
a little
today,
black on the inside.
she went and got her nails done in complete black, and she said that it matched her soul. And she's like the bubbliest blonde, like does not seem like it. She's like, it's black like my soul. And I'm like, this is why we're friends.
On Twitter I think they have a black heart emoji. That's my favorite emoji of all emojis.
Yes. And if you do the dark for Twitter, you can't really see it.
See, I don't even know that. So what does that say about me?
Oh, it's because your favorite color is like purple or something.
That emoji.
My favorite color is blue, bitch.
Man.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of weight to it.
Screw your favorite color. What's your favorite emoji? That's what we want to know.
Oh, elbow.
The vomit emoji. No joke either. That's real life. My favorite emoji is the vomit emoji, not the like I'm gonna vomit green one. The actual green vomit emoji, where they have just obliterated their guts all over whatever that person said.
Is it where their eyes are like two V's, sideways?
Yeah.
V's?
Yep. That's the one.
Yeah. Nice.
Holy motherfuck! I'm sorry. Did any of you guys hear that at all, by any chance?
Did you fart?
No. No. I'm sitting here and I can barely hear anything around me because of the headphones. And out of nowhere, we just got like a flash flood something, and it literally sounded like somebody drove a truck through my house. Like my whole room just bam shook. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I'm good.
What?
Safe?
Yeah, it was.
Is your house
thunder.
floating away? Oh man.
No.
Well, she's still connected to the internet, so that's a good sign.
I don't know how much longer this is gonna go. So if I dip out, I apologize.
Say what you need to say.
You know what other emojis are good? I'm just kidding. No, but upside down smiley face is a good one too.
That is.
That one's overused though, I think.
I'm a fan of the monocle.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Like you're really studying something.
Yes. Like, bitch, what you say?
So I think my favorite emoji is gonna be the one eye closed, one eye open, tongue out, like super crazy.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite one.
I call that one the inappropriate joke emoji.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why I like it.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Frankie, of course, has the middle finger. That's not too surprising.
Oh, so what? All right, so we kind of talked about how you're introing characters and like how we all got our starts. What's like your go-to process when you decide that you're going to start writing?
Go-to process? I just start writing. I have an idea.
Yeah.
I have some characters, and I just go.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I could answer that any differently. I just I have an idea and I just start going with it. And
I'll add one. Or sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say we talked about earlier how, like, I think Narwhal, you brought this up about going back to old ideas and, like saying like, are these good or not? Like in the, like I said, the whole Art City, universe that I've created, I've dug up pretty much all of the old ideas. And if they weren't good at the time, I made them good to where they would fit in the world that I'm trying to build. So there is no such thing in my mind as a bad idea. It's just maybe it wasn't fully fleshed out when I first started coming up with it. But
Fresh.
I can fix that. I can make that work.
Yeah, that's cool. For me, I know writing, the only real ritually thing I do, it basically is just, I kind of have to write first thing in the morning if it's going to be a writing day. So I'll kind of be looking forward to it, and I won't write if it's the middle of the day because I'll be kind of brain foggy after lunch or whatever, or dinner. And so then I wake up fresh in the morning and write.
I start by I open up a file and I call it notes and ideas. And I might try to come up with like a log line, which I think is a good way to keep yourself focused on what the story is. And you have your characters in mind. And I just write all the coolest ideas and notes that come to me for like a few days until things stack up, whether it's just something simple, like a cool thing a superhero can do with a power that we've never seen before, or if it's something like a cool, emotional, very human moment too. It's becomes like a bunch of random puzzle pieces strewn down on the table. And then whenever I start, and then the next level, of course, is making like your outline from that and picking what cool moments, and as I do that, I'll even think of lines for the characters and write those down too. So it's all like sketching. It's like the writing equivalent of sketching a bunch of stuff that you think might be cool,
Narwhal does that live sometimes.
I hear you guys talking and you guys have like processes, but I'm probably the worst here, and you should not follow my advice at all. I don't have a process, I just, see, the thing with me is I actually kind of hate writing, you know what I mean? I just have these ideas and I gotta get them out of my head, basically, that's what it comes down to. And obviously I'm very passionate when I'm doing it, but the idea just comes to my head and I just gotta get them out, So I don't even do a second draft. I do it all in one sitting. If I like it, I keep it. If I don't, I throw it away.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's hardcore.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite of Narwhal. I can't write first thing in the morning. I'm not a morning person, and I'm one of those people that gets really obnoxious because I'll be doing something where I'm like very much engaged in something else, and then I get a random idea and I'm like, fuck, like I can't sit down and start writing right now. And so I started grabbing my phone and just hitting like record and just be like, okay, here's the idea. This is what I need to do. This is when I have time, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to flesh it out. And that'll happen all throughout the day. And then if I'm going to actually sit down and write anything of substance, it has to be about this time. It has to be past 10 o'clock.
That's why a lot of my notes come from random pieces of paper, because like I'll just be doing something completely menial, but my mind is elsewhere. And I get struck with an idea and I'm like, I gotta fucking write this down. And I'm so much of a boomer that I don't think to use the memo function on my phone. And I just grab whatever random piece of paper I have lying near me.
Oh, I love my phone for that, man. Especially when I'm in bed late at night and, I'm Like I'm jotting down notes on my phone, and I'm like, I can't wait to wake up early in the morning and get that on the script. So it's really handy.
I will say that if I'm actually gonna sit down and like really like get into a script, I'm like Narwhal. Like it's first thing in the morning. That's when I'll start, and I'll start busting into a script, and I'll get 24 pages in before I realize 4 or 5 hours have gone by. But the ideas themselves come when they come. There is no telling when inspiration is going to strike you. It's when I'm mowing the lawn or I'm driving down the highway for an hour at a time, and I'm like, oh fuck, like this I need to record this. I need to get this down some way.
Yeah, but there's things you can do to help inspiration come along, right? You can, whatever you're writing, whatever genre it is, you can watch your favorite movies that are within that genre. You can go to Pinterest and look up art. I love having a folder of around 200 or so inspirational images for everything I work on. That way you could also show your artists, which really helps. And those images inspire me to make things, look a certain way or be cooler. You look, it's like a learning process almost every time you delve into a project. It's not just about what you know. People are like, write what you know, and I'm just like, boring. Right?
I don't know superheroes. Like there's no such thing as real life superheroes, but man, I can imagine.
Have you ever seen Phoenix Jones?
Yeah, they actually exist. There's a
look up the rise and fall of Phoenix Jones on YouTube, and you'll learn about real life superheroes real quick, and about how insane they are.
The guy actually knew how to fight. He was a former pro UFC guy, and he could defend himself, but yeah, he got his ass kicked a bunch of times.
Yeah, well, he would run into crowds of innocent drunk people going, "Don't fight," and spin around with mace and just mace everyone, and then drunk chicks would chase him down the street, throwing their heels at him. It was great.
Wow.
That sounds like life.
Wow.
Yeah, there's your metaphor.
All right. Well, just randomly get hit in the face with mace.
Yeah, he was an interesting cat.
I think that's what Archie the comic was saying, and what Adam was saying is the way you got to do it. For me, when I sit down and write, I got to do it until I can do it no more, because once it starts feeling like a job, like I just have to finish this, it's not gonna come out as good as I wanted it to. And if I have to wait another month for the inspiration to hit me back again and then resume what I was writing before, then that's the way it's got to be, But I think you just got to write until the inspiration is there, And if it dies out, then it's better for you just not to keep writing until it's back. You're back to where you're supposed to be. I mean, at least for trying to put out the best quality product you can.
So, question for all of you guys then: would you consider yourselves morning people, evening people? Like,
I'm a night owl.
That's
like
so weird,
like it's past 10 now, and I feel like I should be writing.
See, okay, and that's how I feel is as the day goes on, like it's almost like when I first wake up, I'm firing on like a half of a cylinder. Like I make sure that I leave the house moderately clothed and like that I'm awake enough to get to work. You know what I mean? And then as the day goes on, it's just getting through the grind. But once I get home, I guess once I'm home, that's like, this is me time now. And now I can sit back and I can think back on everything that happened during the day and everything that's going on in life in general, and just how I feel. And if I'm still up, if I haven't crashed out at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock and I'm still awake, my ass starts getting all kinds of crazy ideas. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to sit down and just type it all.
That's when your day actually starts, though. Like when you have that personal time, that is when your day starts, because the rest of the day, you're just doing what you have to do.
That's true. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the morning. Like when I first wake up, like fresh from a dream, that's when I sit down and I'll hammer out any kind of ideas. But then the late at night, that's when like the real weird shit really kind of starts to set in for me.
Yeah,
like you're going on, you've been awake for 20 hours, and you're fighting sleep, and then that's when all the really weird shit starts to pop in your mind. You're like, oh fuck, this is good. Like I can't go to sleep now. Like I'm in the prime. So it's hard for me because it's definitely both worlds. So a lot of times like I'll try to write the ideas down late at night, but then when I get up first thing the next morning, like that's when I'll try to actually flesh them out.
That's good. That's good. I forgot what the science was exactly, but your brain does do something that creates these amazing, very like personal, scenarios or visuals. And it's so good to write those down and harvest them the next day. That's a good call, man. I forgot what it is, but it's just when your brain starts going into that sleep state, right? It's like another version of yourself is being creative, and you should listen to that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I wanted to make a comment actually real quick about something we were talking about earlier about the, subverting expectations. The problem is too many amateur writers look at stories as needing to have a plot that wows people with a twist or a turn instead of having characters that wow people and go on an emotional thing. Because you can have a plot that's something people have seen before, but done your way, of course. And it's the characters that you make them care about them. And that's when it's good. That's when it subverts expectations for me, is when I actually care about the characters. Because these days, so many things I watch, I don't care. They're more worried about the plot stunning me than, just the character's internal struggle.
You know what? That's a great point. I had an interview with EJ Morges not too long ago, and he was talking about this story idea that he had that was very similar to Mark Waid's Irredeemable, where like the superhero, the Superman type ends up becoming the villain. And he was like, I don't know if I really want to like flesh it out because like it's been done before where, the good guy becomes the bad guy. It's like, yeah, it's been done before. But if you can put your own spin on it, if you can make it your own, then that's what actually makes it good. Yeah, it might have been done before, but if you can make it better than what it's been done before, people will flock to it.
Yeah. Put your own fingerprint on it, but just I think more writers need to be cool with the idea that it has been done before. First, you accept that, and then you go, but that's okay because I'm going to do a version that's going to blow minds.
Yeah. Simpsons did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did it.
Studying Simpsons plots is a great way to learn plots.
It's true.
So, another question that I have for you guys then, how many of you, and I know John, I know that you remember your dreams for sure, but how many of you guys actually remember your dreams, and how much do your dreams play into your writing? And I'm starting with John because I already know that John does this, so I want to hear him and then the rest of y'all.
Yeah, I mean, I want to clarify. I don't write in my sleep or anything like that. I just take some elements from my dreams because they're just so crazy and so coherent, and put them in a story. Now, of course, there's going to be dream-like stuff in my dreams that obviously don't make sense in the real world, and it wouldn't make sense in any story or cohesive plot line. But I do remember most of my dreams, and the cool thing about it is that, of course, Carla's next to me all the time, so she can attest to the fact that sometimes I dream with music that doesn't really exist, and I wake up singing and things like that. That's my creative process, really, in a nutshell. These ideas come to me at night, and I guess back to the point that you were asking about, whether you're morning. The thing I guess, and you can ask Carla. She's very surprised about this too. Is I guess I'm one of those few people that can live fine with 5 to 6 hours of sleep a day. So I can do both, like wake up super early and still go to bed like 1, 2 in the morning, and I'll be just fine. And I don't drink any coffee or anything like that, But
you're a fucking mutant.
But I do dream a lot of the stuff I write down, and that's what I mean. Like these ideas come to me in my sleep, and they kind of feel foreign to my brain, even. And I just have to put them on paper. And once I do, I feel released. I feel like, okay, this is done. I can move on with my life.
Right. So how about the rest of you guys?
For me, it's like right before I go to bed. Sometimes it's not even really dreaming, but then I'll think of something and then I have to write it down or whatever, or right before I wake up if I'm just laying in bed. But dreams not too much for me, although maybe in the past. But I want to do more lucid dreaming, try and do more. But I don't know. Hey, Shay, though, I gotta go. But thank you so much. This has been great. Thanks everyone who's here too. It was awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Hang
for
in.
Take it
coming
easy,
out.
See you, Narnar.
Yeah, I'll catch
a
you
good
guys.
night.
See you around. Yeah.
And that actually works out well because we also have Frankie who's been chilling backstage and listening in. So hey, how's it going, Frankie?
Hey,
What's up,
How are you,
Frankie?
what's up, guys?
Yeah, Frank.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
loud and
All
clear.
right, my mic's so.
How's it going, Ray Romano?
Oh, pretty good. Everybody still loves me.
Oh gosh, nobody loves Ray Romano.
Aww.
So since Frankie just got here, go ahead and give us your little bit of an intro into kind of how you got into writing.
Wow, no clown nose.
Shit, it's Vinny.
Right here.
Oh,
All right, there we go.
Yeah, it's Vinny. No. I actually started with poetry as a kid because I like the rhyming stuff. So I used to write poems and stuff as a kid. Then I found out that my grandfather used to write poetry. He was publishing newspapers and stuff, and I had no idea.
Wow.
Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. And then I remember writing stories in Catholic school, and the teacher used to put them in. I think they call them missalettes in church. Like every
Yeah, the missalette. Yeah,
Yeah, they used to put my little stories in there. Like my
we come from a
vacations.
similar background, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, that's where I got my start with the taste for writing.
That's really interesting. I like seeing how many of you guys have like, yeah, I've been writing for 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm like, oh, I wrote and then I stopped for like 20 years. And I started again.
No, that's kind of like me. Yeah, I stopped and then picked it up.
All right. So for the rest of you, how many of you guys remember your dreams?
I don't remember many, and I mean, if I do, it's usually just me getting laid, and then I don't really write that down. My dreams are they're like personal to me. Like I keep them to myself. I don't tell people about them too often, and I don't have them as often as I'd like. Okay, let's just say that I don't remember them as often as I'd like.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I once had
remember
a dream.
nothing.
Oh, I remember nothing.
Nothing
I had
at
a
all.
dream
I'm more like Narwhal.
I dreamt I was a comedian making people laugh, and I couldn't remember one damn joke that I said on stage. It pissed me off.
Like all of that gold
was
is
golden.
gone.
That's like the Tenacious D song, like tribute.
Yeah.
This is just a tribute. We don't remember the greatest song in the world. This is just a tribute to it.
Oh yeah.
Just know it was amazing, okay? It was really good, I swear.
You beat the devil.
Yeah, I remember some of my dreams, but overall, I don't really feel like it really has much impact on my writing. I might take. I did have one dream not too long ago, really. Actually, maybe a year or so that I had to write down because I felt like it was too real and it was too impactful just to kind of pass up. And it was kind of weird because it was after I had watched the second Wreck-It Ralph movie with my son, and I know it's weird, it's funny, but there's the scene where they have the virus, that like eel looking virus thing in the movie, and I had a fucking nightmare about this thing. That it was like attaching to people's faces and giving them like weird hallucinations. And I had an entire dream about it, and I remembered nearly all of it, which is very unlike my dreams. Like usually, like an hour or two after I wake up, I forget most of my dream. But it stuck with me, so I was like, okay, I have to write this down. And it ended up coming up with a pretty decent like short story out of this weird fucking dream about Wreck-It Ralph.
That's That's
But
cool.
overall, no, dreams don't have much impact on what I write, except for this one time apparently that this weird eel creature from Wreck-It Ralph invaded my nightmares and gave me a pretty decent story concept.
Shay, did you just call El Gargoyle Gargler?
I did.
That's horrible.
He is a gargler. Have you ever talked to El Gargoyle? He is a gargler.
Yes. No. So okay. Full disclosure, I can't take credit for it because in one of my letters back, because you guys know that Sai's gone, so I've been writing to Sai to kind of keep her abreast of everything that's been happening, and I let her know. I had mentioned El Gargoyle at some point because of Ink Stream, and instantly, without missing a beat, came back and said, "I 1000% am calling him Gargler, even though I haven't met him." And I was like, "I'm just gonna make that a thing now." Like, I'm just gonna start it now, so you come back and he'll already be ready for it.
I 100% endorse El Gargler.
Yeah, so I don't typically remember my dreams. There's very, very few in my life that I've ever had that I can remember by the time I'm awake for more than 2 or 3 minutes. I have one dream that I had. It was a nightmare that I had when I was like 9 years old, and I remember every single instance of that dream because it terrified the shit out of me. So that's about the only one. And the main like bad guy in that dream, it was a teenager with like Liberty spikes and fangs, and he was wearing Janko jeans with chains and stuff before this was like really popular.
Janko jeans,
dude, and he had a collar that had spikes, right? I am not shitting you. When I was 14, I went to the mall with my mom, and that son of a bitch passed me and said hello, and I almost shit a brick. He had red contacts in, which he had red eyes in my dream. He had fucking those fake ass fang teeth that are the stupid shit that people were doing in the 90s. I came across this motherfucker and almost shit a brick. I like ran from him and was like, we need to get the fuck out of here right now. That dude tried to kill me in my dream. Like, nope.
You're a dream psychic. You're a dream psychic.
Yeah, apparently, for this one thing.
That I had a dream that came true that happened too. I dreamt my aunt and uncle like they were having a baby, and I knew 2 weeks before they made the announcement. And
damn, that's crazy.
She was holding a baby, and it was dressed in white, and she had a ring on when she was holding the baby. It was going pink, blue, pink, blue. So I didn't know if it was a girl or a boy. But 2 weeks later, they announced they had a baby, and I knew before them.
I will say I do like dreams that I have where I'll see somebody in my dream, and then I literally see that person the next day. I might not have seen that person for 2 years beforehand, but I'll have a dream about them. I'm like, oh, I had a dream about this person. Then I see them that day. I'm like, well, that's fucking weird.
That's terrifying.
You should have talked to Vamp Boy at the mall, man. I don't think he would have killed you. He probably would have bought you Orange Julius or something.
Was it daytime or nighttime? Was it daytime or nighttime?
Daywalker. Daywalker.
Exactly. Well, no, and the worst part is he was dressed exactly the same. Like, he had the spike collar, he had the chains and the big old Janko jeans. And
oh yeah,
Liberty
dream psychic.
And if he does chase you, he'll trip over the Jinkos.
That's also true.
And stab himself in the neck.
You're safe. Yeah, yeah.
So
You're safe.
Flip inward. See, 14-year-old me just went, I had that dream 5 years ago. What the fuck is this right now? This is not. That was a dream. And I think the worst part for
that was a premonition.
It was your soulmate. No.
Oh my gosh, I hope not.
You missed your chance.
It's okay. I missed mine.
You missed your chance.
Oh yeah, no. So that, and I think that, and this is one of those, like how Narwhal was talking about like lucid dreams and stuff. This is one of the worst parts about this dream is this was the scariest dream I'd ever had in my life, right? So I wake up and I'm running in between the hallway. Like, I had to continually pass the basement, which is where my dream took place. But my room was on one end of the hall. My parents' room was on the other end. And my parents are a lot older. And so I kept running in to try and wake up my mom. And she was just like really groggy and taking forever, refused to get up. And so I couldn't stay in her room because it was too dark. So I'd run back in mine, and then I'd realize I was alone and run back in hers. I went back and forth about 4 or 5 times. Oh, and that last time I smacked straight into the corner of the wall and then blacked out. And so when I woke up in the morning, I was like, that was an incredibly fucked up dream. I hope I never have a dream like that again. And then I look in the mirror and I had a bruise with a line down the middle. And then it instantly was like, I don't know what was a dream and what wasn't. I don't know what just happened. Like, how much of this was a dream? How much of it was real?
Yeah, that's that crazy lucid dream and shit.
It terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And so seeing him at 14, I was like, no, that was a dream. It wasn't, it didn't happen. It was a dream. So just like put me right back with all of that shit. Gargoyle did ask, do any of you guys ever have recurring dreams?
Not anymore. I did as a child, not anymore. Not for a long time.
Yeah, if I have a recurring dream, it's usually a recurring setting, not necessarily a recurring dream, but the setting will be the same as something that I've seen before. I've had a couple of those, but never an actual like the same dream over and over again.
I had in high school, it's probably because it was a stressful time or whatever, but I had the same dream that was always awesome at first. Like I'm fighting off cyborg warriors or I'm taking on like a horde of vampires, but I die horribly in all of them every time. Same ending, horrible death. So
I just had the classic. I can't get my locker combination. I'm late for class over and over and over. It's lame.
Mine would be like that, but then like a Terminator would come out and blow me away with a Gatling
that's
gun.
way cool. That's cooler than mine.
What about you, John?
Yeah, when I was a kid, probably. Yeah, I remember there was this huge face that will always chase me across the whole
face.
Yeah, it was
just the face.
The face.
And
don't buy brand.
And it would always kill me, and I would. But I remember that one day I went to sleep and like I was convinced, I'm gonna challenge this thing today. Like I'm gonna, because if I don't, then I'm gonna keep dreaming about this. And I was convinced that this thing was real, right? Because it kept tormenting me for like, I don't know, probably a year or 6 months.
Oh wow!
And so I challenged it to play poker, and I didn't know how to play poker. And I told him if I won, then he was to leave me alone. And somehow I won. I don't know what the hell I was doing with the card. It worked, and I never dreamt about it ever since.
Wow.
Poker face is chasing me all over the place.
I had a dream I was falling off a cliff, and they say if you don't wake up, you'll die or whatever. I hit the bottom, and I bounced 20 feet in the air. I kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. I'm like, what the hell? But I felt the drop as I was falling, like on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
that's
a rush.
I'm like,
those people who say that, like, how do they know that? Like, they know someone. Like, my friend fell asleep, and he must have had a dream where he's falling because he never woke up. Like nobody knows that. That's so stupid.
I know.
It's just because, like, normally when you do fall in a dream, like you wake up when you hit the ground. Normally, I guess, except in Frankie's case where he just bounces like a.
I bounced like 20 times.
So you fell onto a trampoline, is what happened.
I don't know what the hell that was about.
Tungsten says, I think I'm in a dream now and I'm just waiting to be woken up.
It's not happening.
No.
This is a nightmare is what's happening right now.
That's right.
Hey, come on. I think we're better than a nightmare.
Yeah, like the fun nightmares where it's exciting, but you're still kind of terrified.
I love the word nightmare, man, because it just means mare is a demon, right? That comes in the night. That's all it means. Night demon.
So it's a female horse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too. Here comes my night horse.
What is that? I feel like that is a nickname that you and a girlfriend have for you, Vaughn.
I don't want to know.
Here comes my night horse. No.
Giddy up. Giddy up.
Our nicknames were always like really overly cute, It was like it was too much cute stuff. Yeah.
I'm not even gonna play along. I'm just gonna roll past it. Well, I mean, this has been almost an hour and a half of us just kind of talking about aspects of writing and fun like that. Yes, Frankie, very good.
I feel naked without it.
But it's, you know what?
I
It's-
didn't recognize you without it when you first popped in here. I was like, who's this guy?
Who the hell
Same
is
I
here.
recognized the voice, but the face just didn't make sense to me.
Everybody recognizes the voice.
this? Yeah.
Frankie says, "Relax."
So,
Well, yeah, I do think that this has been a really fun like first episode, and I'm gonna keep doing this every Sunday. I think that this is a really cool kind of way to get a bunch of different writers' perspectives and get all of you guys together to just kind of talk about the craft and talk about how things happen, because otherwise, if it weren't for the writers, there wouldn't be things, like I said, for artists to draw pretty pictures of, to make these really awesome books. And I think that this is something that a lot of people are either like me, really intimidated about starting, or think is really, really easy until they actually sit down and try and do it and realize like, nah, this shit's really difficult sometimes. But we have a lot of really good talent.
No, I think
You
the writing streams are great. I think we do need some more, because like I was telling you, Shay, you know, when we were talking about this, you know, every time that we get into writing on one of my streams, like it gets great reviews. You know, people are like, "Oh, I love how you guys got into the writing process." And I don't know, I've just never actually decided like, "Hey, let's put a writing show together." I know Narwhal, you know, who was here earlier, he does quite a few writing streams, which seemed like they get, you know, great views and shit too. So I was really excited when you were like, "I want to do this." So it's like, count me on. I'm on board with this. This is good.
Yeah. Well, and I love, like, part of it's a little bit selfish, I'm not going to lie, because like I said, I am trying to get back into writing, and being able to pick so many really talented people's brains all at the same time is really awesome. But it's also, I think that it's something that we really kind of undercut a lot of our writers throughout the indie community, just because it's not as, you can't sit down and do a writing stream where everyone's going to be like, so today I'm going to write a chapter, and then everyone's just sitting there like randomly hammering on a keyboard. And
It's not as sexy.
Yeah, it's difficult to make it engaging and entertaining, but I don't know. I think we did a damn good job. The chat was flying tonight. We had some good interaction.
I agree, and I think that this is something that'll be really fun to do. So expect this every Sunday from now on. I will work on getting an actual intro, so it's not such an awkward start to everything.
You need to move your feathers too, because for most of the show, half of your feathers were covering up John's face.
I'm working on it. I'm trying
He's like a mysterious feather fan. He was like, "Hello."
I'll work on fixing.
I'm hiding from the face.
The feathers. Or just make sure that Adam's always in that bottom corner or something.
That you could, that
where he belongs.
But I just
hey, nobody
Shay,
puts the baby in the corner.
Shay, I just want to say, please write, please share with the world. Dude, your name almost is Cher. So if you think about that. But I think you've got great things to write, and it does take a lot of discipline, but the more you do it, it's like working out. The more you go, the more you get into it and the mode of it, and you make it happen, and you start to have these breakthroughs that become like opioid addiction, and you instead of going out with your friends, you stay home to write these awesome things. So I mean, just keep it up, and you've got great people in this community, and we can help, and you'll make it happen.
I like it. Well, if anyone who's watching is a writer or a fledgling writer or any level of writer that is within CG that is interested in trying to get on for this panel, please hit me up in DMs. I would love to add more people to this for sure. And I guess just keep watching out for us every Sunday. If you've got ideas on topics that you'd like us to cover, that's also highly, highly encouraged and very much welcome. And I'm really happy that you guys all came out. I thought this was a really fun experience and a lot of really good conversation that happened. And I can't wait for next week now. Now I have something to look forward to every Sunday.
Damn right.
Hell yeah.
Happy to help. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And make sure, we'll go real quick so everyone can kind of, where can you be found? And if you've got any projects in the works, go ahead and give those a shout. So we'll start with Red.
Oh, hell yeah. If you're not a member of the Gaze community, I would encourage you to become a part. Subscribe to Red Gaze Also, check out Sunsworn. It's on Indiegogo now. It's a full-length novel with a visual companion if you are so inclined to purchase that featured tier. Epic Space Fantasy coming at you.
Fantastic. John.
Yeah, what Red say, you know, if you're part of the Red community, the Red Games community, then you're probably part of our community too.
I was like, you're supposed to pimp yourself, not Red.
We'll have one tomorrow at Red Games channel too. And yeah, check out the Green River 2 on Indiegogo. And thank you for having me again, Shane.
All right, Adam.
Oh, it's my you can follow me on Twitter at Adam_A_F, on YouTube, Art City Comics. Just follow the little link in the chat list there. Sub to me, please. Yeah, that's all I got. Back Blood Hunt. We're on our way to 11K. Going to be shipping it any day now, really. Finalizing edits, and we're going to get that book out to all its backers. It's amazing. You're going to love it. So if you haven't backed it, make sure you back it now.
All right.
I am Von Klaus, creator of Monster MD, which is still open on Indiegogo. You should check it out. It's about a doctor of the local monsters and his sexy invisible sidekick getting into crazy misadventures. You can find me on Twitter at Rise Again, and my YouTube, which is terribly neglected, but I'm thinking about doing a nice revamp on it, is Rise Again Comics, if you want to check out some of my ranty videos on things.
Yeah, people like rants. People love rants, actually, on YouTube.
Yeah, that's
there you go.
And Frankie.
I'll be at Chuckles Comedy Club on Saturday at 7 p.m. I'm kidding. Through the Woods on Indiegogo. I'll make it short.
And everybody's Twitter links are all in the description for the video. So make sure that you go and follow back all of these people and get some really awesome writers on your timeline. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. And we will catch you guys next Sunday. See you later.